I'm WG, and CZN brought massive character changes from what we knew from the limited playtest into the official version. So just to get us all on point, what has changed, what did change, and how did that affect the strength of these characters? So let's talk about it. We're going to go row by row through what they are shown in game, and let's start it off with Luke. So Luke, we just first have a look at the cost. You see how it's a 1 cost attack card, 1 cost attack card, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, or better said, unusable. So we talk about the finisher rounds specifically. Though for now, the basic shots is the same. The potential still makes the basic shots bullets. So that's what you see on the right side right there. The first big change comes in rapid fire. Rapid fire actually says increases or does 50% damage times 2 and then create a handgun bullet equal to the number of critical hits plus 50% crit chance. What it was before was actually a 15% crit chance, so that's an increase of a massive 35%. Now let's quickly refresh ourselves right here. So we had a damage increase, we had a shot increase, we have a guaranteed crit at 150 and then a bullet tag, and then draw cards equal. What changed here, let's see. So we have a retrieve tag, meaning that the moment you use this card, it comes back. Retrieve meaning when this card moves to the graveyard, you return it to hand. So you'll be able to use this card twice, which is huge. Then we have still the same 30 times 3. So this one is big favorite, big favorite. And then we have let's get the other stuff out of the way. What else do we have? We have the guaranteed crit. We have the bullet tag at 50 times 3 plus 50% crit chance versus 50 times 2 plus 15. And then the 75 times 2 draw cards equal to critical hits at plus 70% versus plus 30. So overall, this card just became way more useful. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke is going to turn out to be one of the strongest characters of the entire 10-man starter roster. And ultimate wise, there isn't really a change. You can see there's like a 50% difference in the multiplier, but the main mechanic stays the same. Next skill, we have the create 2 handgun bullets. The handgun bullets deal 70, 50, 100 to weakness, 50, 100 to shield, and 30 plus 1 to mark. And that should by all means still be the same. So you can see 70, 50, 50, 100, 30, and 1. So his bullets are still as powerful as they were before. Then we have the next up, the seize the opportunity, which is the lead skill at 100% shield, 120% for the next bullet card. And that, as you can see, stayed the same. Epiphany wise, you have 150, 170. Then next to 1 turn, increase the damage of the next attack, and then when using a bullet card, gain shield. This has, let's see if it has changed. We have a 150, 170, we have the 100 at 120 with the next 2 bullet cards, the one for 1 turn, the 70%, the increase attack damage, increase attack damage, and then, this third one is different. 30% handgun bullet card damage, upgrade card, meaning that this card will be permanently active, changed from him being able to gain shield. Alright, so this one is also probably going to be really nice, that 5th Epiphany. Next up, we have the Dance of the Demon at 50% damage plus 1 hit equal to the number of bullet cards used this turn. I do already smell a change. And that is a very massive change, because the change before was damage equal to the number of bullet cards used this turn, 50% and then 100%. What changed here is the fact that this now turns into a multi-hitter. Multi-hitter cards are important in 2 ways. Number 1, every single hit benefits from a morale buff, which means a plus 20% increase for every single hit, which stacks up the more hits you do. And also, this is crazy. You can probably shoot like 20 bullets with a well-built Luke. But I'm talking like endgame and stuff. And then obviously that also works for enemies that have certain effects, like if they get hit, remove a stack of XYZ. That is a somewhat common practice. Now let's quickly check out the epiphanies, see if there's anything magically changing. Deals damage equal to the number of bullets turned 8150, attack cards used 5150, 0 cost, gain shield, and 50 times 6 damage every time upon using a bullet card, negative cost. There is probably going to be some big changes here. So let's see what he's all about. So 75% damage is just a higher multiplier, which is really important. Then here, based on the attack cards used this turn, so can work outside of bullets. This one, weakness attack, meaning extra damage should he attack someone that is weak to the order element. Then 50 damage, 50 shield, 1 hit equal to the number. Oh, and you get extra hit and extra shield. So this card, the Dance of the Demon, the fourth one, could be massive. It could give you a massive shield and a massive amount of damage. And the last one is the same, giving you a potentially 0 cost Dance of the Demon for 6 hits, so long as you play 3 bullets. Okay, now the big one, the big gun. Finisher round is now a unique bullet that says 200% damage after using handgun 5 times, or after using 5 bullets. You can use this card this turn. This has changed away from what he was before. What he was before is this right here. Deal damage 100%, increase damage by number equal to the use of bullet cards. There is no extra ascensions here, so everything else stays the same. Now, epiphanies, or in this case actually awakenings, are also going to be different. So the first one is when drawing the finisher bullet card, create 1 handgun. But this one says 50% damage to the finisher round, which is the purple skill. Handgun bullet card use condition reduced to 4, meaning you'll be able to use that card easier. When Luke uses a bullet card 3 times, create 2 handgun bullets in hand. Create, yeah, so pretty much as soon as you use 3 bullets, you get 2 more. This stays the same from what we know. And then right here, let's see, what else do we have? We have 50% damage of lethal design and the damage per card in hand, that's the same. Whenever Luke uses a bullet, gain target analysis, that's also the same. This is the same. And this is the same with the high AP velocity round, which is a 200% damage guaranteed crit with a bunch of bonuses. So Luke's recap, massive changes, massive buffs to Luke. Should be even better than he was before. I don't even think he was that bad before. And then potential also obviously has a changed A1. Let's talk Khalpie. So what we have here is the same base cards. You can see the cost was 1213, 2212. The cost is now Greatsword Aquila down to a 1. Rally is at a 1 cost. Absolute Protection is now a X cost instead of a 2 cost. And the ultimate, let's quickly get that out of the way. Before it did 300% and created 2 vulture launches. Now it does 300% and only creates 1. Okay. So the main changes, as you'll also see right here, is it clearly says 140% defense-based damage to all enemies. That was too strong. Now it's only 100% defense-based damage to all enemies. Though it still has the Celestial tag, meaning you play a 2-cost card, it gets played for free. And then because it gets played, it also comes back into your hand. You can play another 2-cost card and it gets played. Big change here is the main card to activate this card, which was the Great Sword Aquila, was now changed to a 1 cost. But what this does is vulture cost in hand, cost +1, damage +1. So it is even better than before. Should you have vulture ejection in hand, the Greatsword Aquila is now 30% stronger. You can compare it. This would be 250 versus 220. So while vulture ejection itself got a little weaker, Greatsword Aquila got stronger. Now past that, we then have the Overpower skill, which lost the Celestial tag, meaning you won't be able to trigger it as easily anymore. It still has 200% shield, but it only does 1 tenacity damage to all enemies instead of 2. You can still regain the Celestial tag by... no, you can't even regain the Celestial tag by Epiphany, which means you can use the Overpower to trigger Celestial, but you won't be able to play Overpower for free. There is most certainly going to be a lot of changes in here. For each ravaged enemy, that is probably enemies that are broken, you get 1 damage reduction. If enemies are ravaged, 2 vulnerable. If not, 2 weaken. 2 weaken reduces the damage dealt. Vulnerable increases the damage taken. Then we have Overpower at 2 tenacity damage to all enemies at 250 shield, which kind of restores the base version of what it was before. Just for completeness sake, you can just have a look at what it was before. Yeah, if enemy is in defeat, so that's like more of a confirmation there, but you can see the Celestial tag is now gone. Then we have the +5 action count, which is quite massive, and this one can actually turn into a humongous shield. Now that we have that out of the way, we have the rally skill. The rally skill will be able to get to Celestial if you get the 3rd Ascendancy, whereas the rally skill before also did have that ability, but you draw, instead of drawing 2 and 250 shield, you get a draw 1 highest cost card, which allows you to, for example, deck search for that Silver Veil launcher, and you get a bit less in shield, but you do also get a Silver Veil stack, which is the main mechanic what helps you upgrade into the big launcher itself. And that is the launcher plus. It's not shown in here, but it's just like a better version of the launcher. But the biggest of them all is Absolute Protection. It's now a ultimate skill, meaning it ends your turn. It gives you X amount of mana spent as a shield, and you grant retain to all cards in hand. So if you play this at the end or beginning of your turn, you'll still keep the cards in your hand. This has really high value. This card is high value. Yes, I know this card. Some of you might be sad for it. What it did before was 200 defense-based damage to each enemy, and for each card in hand with cost 2 or higher, you did more damage and you still retain all cards in hand. Now you have a very, very, very potent defensive tool in your selection. So outside of those should have been the major changes. Obviously now you can add retain to the card itself. Let's see if any of the awakenings changed greatly. Though to be fair, I feel like we don't have to look at the awakenings much, because they are kind of irrelevant right now. When Silver Veil reaches 3 stacks, move all Vulture launch cards to hand. Was changed at the start of the battle, and on shuffle, move 1 Vulture ejection card from draw pile to the top of the draw pile. That's pretty good. That's going to allow you to get to these Vulture ejections way quicker. So overall, Khalpie, I don't know. It's hard to say if she got worse or if she got better, but I gotta be honest with you here. This is very potent defense, and this actually did get a buff in that it works even better if you have Vulture ejections here, so it remains to be seen, but by no way or means will she be bad. Next up, Magna. Magna, here you see the counter attack. That's just part of the potential that you can reach upon reaching level 20. You have then the same skills at 1-1-1-1, and then the Ice Fragment, which also opens up with lead, Crystallization 2, which is a 40% shield at the end of every turn, and then at the start of the turn gain 1 counter attack. They changed the modifier of Glacial Iron Fist to be higher, but they kept the maximum shield obtainable at 20% of max HP. Depends. Then we have the 100 shield, 2 counters for 1 turn, counter applies to all enemies. That is still the same. Then we have the Frost Charge, 100% shield, 2 vulnerability to all enemies, which is also similar. And here we have the lead. When gaining shield from a counter, when gaining shield from a card, gain 1 counter attack. So her kit mostly stayed the same, but I don't really want to go too specific into epiphanies, otherwise this video is going to be long, right? It's going to be forever. But there's one specific epiphany I want to say rip to. It was the epiphany I had the most fun with during the beta, and that is Epiphany 3 right here. You can see how it says counterattack applies to all enemies, which is fantastic. But what we missed, or what got taken away, unfortunately, is the at the start of the turn gain Crystallization 2. It was a skill that allowed you to build ridiculous amounts of barriers. Maybe it's better this way, because otherwise you wouldn't build anything else on Magna. Right, let's talk Rin. So basic attack stayed the same, second basic attack stayed the same, shield stayed the same. The obtained darkness stance just comes from her potential, which is why there's a difference. The basic drawing slash stayed the same. This one is the first card that got actually hit kinda hard, in that you still obtain the stance, but instead of actually getting Rin cards, you now draw 1. Instead of here, you actually got 2 dedicated Rin cards. Then we can check out the epiphanies. It's probably not magically gonna get better. Draw 3 of your cards, cost reduced by 1 until use, so which means you could play it at 0 cost. For drawing 2, it's unique. Attack card, Dark Cloud will increase damage. Move Dark Cloud, Arcane Mule, and Dark Cloud Arcane Turk. Move from draw pile to graveyard, or graveyard to hand. And if the beginning of the turn, if in Dark Cloud stands, draw 1 of Rin's cards. That was hit to some degree for most of these, and that is, for example, here. you have the cost reduction. This still only is 2 cards instead of Rin cards. The one in the middle is not as bad, giving you 50% damage. This card is still very, very, very valuable because it allows you to pull these 2 cards out, who are still one of the most most potent options. And this one at the start of the turn, if in Dark Mist stands, draw 1 card, is obviously different because it's now draw 1 instead of draw 1 Rin card. So there is definitely a lack of offensive cohesion, or to a degree maybe it was a bit too much draw power, who knows. Here we then have the change to the Dark Mist secret art that now allows you to deal 30% damage less, so they reduce the damage of the ability by 30%, but it also makes sense because this is the ability which can hit quite a lot of times. As you can see right here, for example, you have up to 4 hits. Then you also have here a double hitter with extra crit damage, and the changes to, for example, also don't get fooled by this. This should say Rin cards. This is not all cards in hand. This is just Rin cards. Translation mistakes. I guess that stuff just happens. Then, yeah, there is definitely some changes here. If you want to check them out, you'll be able to see that yourself for like the next 2 or 3 days on the website. I don't know how long it takes me to update all that information. But then we also have another card that got hit like a truck, and that is Rin's last ability, Rin's character exclusive one, which said before Darklord Blade Art damage count by 1 up to 6 times stayed the same, but they reduced the damage by half. So it's now not a 160 base, every single hit more damage, it's a 80% base. Obviously still benefits massively from specific percentage boni as well as also morale, but it's just not as big of a base damage anymore. The other changes in Awakenings and the like won't be as noticeable, and there might even be an epiphany or 2 that you can really look forward to. Though, yeah, this one is kind of nice though. The ability to create a Dark Mist Secret Art Annihilation and apply Ephemeral to that card. This one is actually probably the best Awakening out of the Dark Mist Inner Arts, because the Dark Mist Inner Arts, I gotta be honest, is kind of useless. Orlea is slimes and slimes are Orlea, so how about we start with those first. So we have a 35% damage bonus, which is the same, 20% of the next attack card stays the same, 200% damage, 150% damage after retaining stays the same, and then 250% heal with 100% shield. So 250% shield, 100% heal every time you retain this card. So her slimes actually stayed untouched, which makes me almost believe that for the most part she probably got away scot-free, / she didn't really need as much tuning. So for example here we have the create 1 of each, that's still the same. You have the cost, which also ends up being still the same. You have the, if you're wondering why this might be a 2 cost versus a 1 cost, that's because mine was actually a 1. But no, the effects of all the cards seem pretty similar in a 1-1-1-1, with the Sacred Sensor also having the same upgrades, with the Retain card still turning into the same card, and with the ability to activate the Preserve effect or Retain effect of all cards in hand, and activate the Preserve effect of all your cards. So Orlea stays pretty much as she was. Alright, now Mei Lin, one of the reroll favorites. Let's check it out. So we have a 100, 100, 100 in a shield, and this did 40% extra damage when using a attack card, apply 1 passion weakness. As you can see, it now only does 20% attack card damage when using an attack card, apply passion weakness. So they decided to reduce that multiplier by 20%, probably for good reason. Then next up we have the 100 embers. The 2 damage, 1 additional hit. That card stayed exactly untouched. This one is draw your basic card 2. So draw 2 basic cards, reduce the cost by 1, allowing you to draw an attack and a defense. This one is still the same. The Spirit of the Aromata, when using a card plus 20% damage for 1 turn at 1 cost, is definitely different to what this is, because this was for 2 turns, increase your weak point damage by 100% on defeat. So on breaking, someone gained 2 action points. This was a very potent tool. This is more now a, I do believe, every time you use a card, I mean, this could be quite important. So let's say you play a turn in which you use 10 cards. Does that stack to 200%? Only time shall tell. And then here we have the attack weakness, 300% damage, destroy, retain embers, which pretty much stayed untouched. Now for the most interesting part, the ultimate. The ultimate had a weird description in for 1 turn, critical chance 100%, critical damage by 200%. The ultimate is now a +1 hit to the next 4 basic attack cards. So the next 4 basic attack cards used hit 1 more time, which is now in line with also what her ult upgrade should say, where it applies to 6 cards. So this is pretty much very similar. We can now also check out her potential. Her potential should have gotten a little bit of a change. Yes, before that this said 100% crit chance. Now it adds Ember to the basic abilities. So there you go. Overall, I don't think Mei Lin took much of a hit. She's probably still very solid. And also, on that note, all of these changes probably brought everybody closer together rather than create unnecessary large gaps between characters or whatever the devs predicted was going to happen. And at the end of the day, the game wasn't even released, so it's neither a nerf nor a buff, it's just the way it is. Now onto Veronica, who some said was a bit underwhelming. We have at least that was their opinion during the beta. I don't even think I really agree with that. But we have the basic cards in 111, the 100% shield, and then the create 1 ballista card. Here we also have the same thing. Just in case, let's check what the ballistas do. I do get the feeling she didn't really get touched. So 150, 150 piercing, 150, 30% crit chance, 120, and a double hitter. So what do you have for us? Let's see. Can we check all of them somehow? Maybe does make me wonder, how do we do that, right? Or do we actually have to go through all of them? So piercing ballista is the piercing damage. If the target has shield, it's just the same. 30% crit rate is the same. 120% AoE damage and 60 times 20. Boom. Her cards actually are pretty much the same. Then we have the other remaining cards for her. So let's give that a quick check out. You can see draw 100% shield, draw 2 combatants cards. That is exactly still the same. When another combatant uses a skill card, gain 1 reload. And then they changed the Sir Kowalski. Sir Kowalski gave you 1 reload, 1 draw. It now allows you to choose 1 ballista in hand to increase its damage until it gets used at the end of the turn, and draw. So he now lost 1 of those reload stacks. You still then have the increased max stacks of reload by 1, gain 1 reload in this card right here. There's probably gonna be some slight epiphany changes to the way this card as a whole works, especially what is this? Exclamation mark 0 cal 10 100 minus 75% damage until used. I think that's probably create 2 ballista cards that deal 75% damage extra until used, or maybe they are just 75% as strong. Who knows? But Veronica seems to still be on the same level of what you were used to. Let's talk Renoa. Basic cards are still 100%, 100%, 100%, 11111. Then you have the Echo of Sorrow, which deals 140% damage and creates 1 Dirge Bullet. Now, Dirge Bullets are by far her most important card. So what Dirge Bullets did before is 160% damage, and when moved to the graveyard, you perform an extra attack for 80%. So 160 and 80. What do they do now? 160 and 180. It is incredible that they didn't touch that, even though they basically changed something for pretty much everyone. Then we have a 180 of Dirge Bullet is in hand, 100. Then we have deal damage 50% times 3, increased damage by 20% for each Dirge Bullet in hand. 50 times 3, 20% for each Dirge Bullet. Discard up to 2 cards from hand, create that many Dirge Bullets. Should again, yes, be the same. I think they even gave her a little bit of a extra buff, in that this card now says retain/exhaust, which allows you to discard all Dirge Bullets and apply damage for each discard, which is different to what it is actually right now, and that is it lost exhaust. Exhaust is gone. It now deals damage, allows you to discard and then deal damage, but these numbers were obviously changed in consideration that you can use this card multiple times, right? So the card is slightly weaker, but you can now use it multiple times instead of only once. This is move all Dirge Bullets from draw pile and graveyard to hand, 300% damage. This one is draw all cards from draw pile and graveyard, 300%, so this is still the same thing. I would say overall Renoa, so one of, like, just looking at this, kind of like the top dogs seem to be, I know it's obviously hard to say at the moment, but it kind of feels like Renoa and Luke are definitely up there. Right, good or bad news for all dog enjoyer / hater, he stays the same. He is pretty much the same in that he has the same basic attacks, he has the same effect on his hunting instinct, he has the same effect on all and every single one of his cards down to Fixer's Approach. Obviously at this point it's a bit hard to say if they changed any epiphanies and made any movements weaker, but baseline Hugo is as strong as you are and came to know him, or maybe you didn't came to know him, but now you know his past, which is his future. Now big guy Kayron, what did they do to your boy? 100% damage, 100% damage, 100% heal, 240% damage, so actually a damage buff to the futility by 20%, and you still create 2 cards. This futility thing stays still the same. Then a 300% damage to all enemies, you can see, and then for every exhaust you go down by 1. It was changed by down of around 60%, right? On card exhaust, which is a better explanation than banished, but like exhausting a card, banishing a card is still the same thing. Then right here, 240% damage per banished. Oh, it doesn't have a cap anymore. So depending on how many futilities you are able to exhaust, you do more damage. Though keep in mind, the change from before was you could banish any card. It could have been a card from a different combatant. It could have been a bullet that you use that turns ethereal that then counts as banished. So there's probably more of a cap set to this card as well. And then let's just check out and see if there's still the 0 cost cards. There were some cards that were able to turn this into 0 cost. As you can see right here, still it says cost 1, cost 1, cost 1, exhaust all futility ailments, 2 cards exhausted to all enemies. So the main change is futility is now always gonna run you 1 cost, so you have to find a way around that. And then here 240% damage create 4 futility cards, which is the same as obviously talking about the void cards, increase that damage by 40%. So the main change to boy Kayron is some slight changes here and there, and the fact that there is, I think it was 2 of them, 2 very powerful epiphanies that now aren't obtainable anymore. We can give him a quick shout just so you know what could have been. And that is right here in the middle. You have a 0 cost, which would be 100% damage effect and 0 cost. So just you can play the Void for 0, does 100% damage. And then also Void Creation changes to a card 0 cost when 4 Voids are banished, gain morale. So those 2 are of the past. And that concludes the changes to every single one of the legendaries, or every single one of the 5 stars to the most degree. Obviously there's still going to be minor tweaks, and the last one I really want to talk about, someone that got hit probably the hardest, has to be Mika. I know Mika is not a 5 star. I know that she doesn't really fit into that video here, but I just have to talk about it because it might just take me a while to do the 4-star equivalent video, and that is, let's check out a couple cards. So, for example, this card right here had Wave 2, Save 1, meaning you get 2 stacks of Wave and you can save your AP from the last round. For as far as I can tell from anything I've seen, the whole save mechanic is gone. You won't be able to carry over AP from the past into the future turn. Then you have, still, this one is the same, right? The deluge thing is the same. The healing increases by the amount of action points is also the same, but the scaling was reduced. So there's overall always some slight changes that made her slightly worse, and then there's the biggest one, and that is the top end potential of Mika took quite a hit in that this A6 used to say reduces the amount of wave stacks needed to trigger the wave effect to 2. So the wave effect means every time you gain wave effects either through her actions or wherever, you're going to be building up a meter. If you hit 3 wave, you get 1 AP, hit 3 wave again, 1 AP, so it was basically AP generation. Then obviously the ability to reduce it from 3 to 2 means you need 33% less stacks, which would have been a massive AP generation. This whole thing is gone now. So overall, why she probably still for now is the AP queen, she is not in a different stratosphere as she kinda was before. And with that, we see each other in the next one. Peace!